Some other things that we can do, we talked about body language mirroring, but something else that's also very important is the words in your resume. Is that mirroring what the job's employer is looking for? A lot of times people will put out what they want in the job, in their job description. They'll write it themselves. So it's words that speak to them, that are important to them. And if your resume has those exact same words, well, then your resume sticks out a little bit better than somebody else's because, hey, he's using the same words that I use. Those words are important to me. So mirroring is more than just looking and mirroring each other as far as body language, but also mirroring the way we talk, our nonverbals and our verbals. So that is nonverbal and verbal mirroring. I think this is you.
Yeah, I'm going to take a tangent. Okay, we got time. So along with that, so we naturally mirror people that we're close to. Charismatic people naturally mirror each other. That's partly why they're so charismatic. And so we can deliberately try to mirror, to feel similar, which will make us feel like we're in the same tribe, and that boosts trust. Another way you can do it, though, is with personality science. Have you guys taken personality tests before? What are some of the ones you like? There's a lot of them out there.
I've never liked them.
Never liked them?
Because I hate to feel like I'm being put in a box.
Ooh, and I love that, because I'm the same way. That's
it's
been my
a personality type you guys have.
Yes, we shared that.
Primarily
Mirror. Me too. Yeah, I had the same aversion to personalities because I didn't want to be labeled. And if you've heard of the Pygmalion effect, if we're treated a certain way, then we'll tend to act that way. You see that a lot with kids, research around kids. If you treat them a certain way, then they kind of start acting that way. And I went to one personality class where they had the 4 different kinds, and they physically separated us into different parts of the room, which also made us into tribes, personality tribes. And whatever the traits were, it was almost like it was magnified or exaggerated just because we were called that and we were put in a tribe together with it. And so the extroverted, outgoing people were just like, oh, they're like having a party over in their corner. Then you got the more analytical people just like, so it like magnified the tendency. So I had that same concern. That's one of the beefs I've had with personality science. One that I found that I like is based on on the next slide here. No, well, it's the 5-factor model of personality. There's a few things I like about this. It does not label you as a color or as a particular personality type. It has 5 facets of personality that we all fall somewhere on a spectrum. So we all have these facets, we just fall somewhere on the spectrum. So I liked that it wasn't labeling you, it was just showing where you are on a scale for different facets. And we are going to be naturally drawn towards people that have similar and compatible personality types because of that similarity factor. So I'm not going to spend tons of time on this. This is something that if someone's interested in delving more, then you can reach out to me later and we can get into it. But I'll give you the high-level version of the Big 5. And that can be a useful tool as you're networking because you can adjust how you interact with people too based on what their personality types are going to be. A bit of science around it. The Big 5 factor, well, we'll talk about Talent Smart first. Talent Smart ran this research with over 1 million people, so that's like a good sample size, right? Big sample size. And they found that those that are highly self-aware, 90% of them, in fact, performed better. So the people that were more self-aware did better. They performed better. So I saw a comic strip on Black Friday where Costco was giving out samples of self-awareness to people. And they'd take it and they'd realize that, oh, my cart is parked right in the aisle in front of everybody. That kind of self-awareness can be hard to come by, but it's highly correlated with success. And part of self-awareness and emotional intelligence, those two things go together. That's the value of identifying where you fall on these spectrums in the personality scale. It's giving you more self-awareness and giving you more control. So where I was worried I'd become a victim of a label, it's just helped me to understand how I see the world better so that I can better take advantage of opportunities. So the Big 5 has a long history. I think it's been over 100 years in the making now. They started a long time ago with taking all the words they could think of to describe personality, and they put that into a big bucket. They narrowed that down to 18,000 words, 18,000 words to describe people's different personalities. And then over the years, as other research groups came along, they'd whittle it down more. And so they got to about 4,500 words. Can you imagine taking a personality exam to be labeled as 4,500 different words? So then they whittled it down to 16. It's getting a little bit better, a little more manageable. And finally, it ended up with just 5 factors from this funnel that describe facets of everybody that everybody has. It does tend to favor certain cultures. This one, unlike body language, has some cultural influence because it started from vocabulary. It started from words to describe personality. But I like that this one has really been through the ringer. Tons of research and counter-research and peer-reviewed research. This is the personality test that's used the most in academia. It's also cool because it's free. There are websites that will charge you to take it, but you can take this one for free if you just Google it and find it. One of the interesting aspects to this too is this question of nature versus nurture. How much of our personality is something that we just learned since we've been here, and how much of it is something that we brought with us? And they found that it's about 50-50, right? But 51 to 58% of our personality comes from our DNA, which is really fascinating to me. They could even break it down by the different facets, the 5 different facets of personality, which we'll get to here in a second, and could see what percentage was DNA versus nature. I think that's super fascinating. There's even some research that's showing that trauma that happens to a particular person can attach methyl groups to their DNA strands and actually get passed on to future generations. They'll see this with rats, where they'll put a scent of lavender in there, probably from doTERRA, and then they shock the rat. And so the rat quickly learns that the smell of lavender is a bad thing, and it gets it in fight or flight mode. But then they find that their kids and their grandkids are afraid of the smell of lavender, even though they'd never been shocked. It's a defense mechanism that you can pass on literally through your DNA. So that's crazy with this. You can have your own baggage from your own trauma and your own fight or flight experiences that affects your personality, but also things from your ancestors. Any trauma they had could affect you and what happens with your personality. So, as an example of the innate part of this, somebody that is high on the neuroticism scale, somebody that worries a lot, there is an actual physiological and chemical difference in their bodies than everybody else's. For example, the long forms of serotonin transport gene. I don't know if you remembered when I mentioned serotonin is one of those things that helps you calm down after fight or flight. People that are high neurotic have a slower recovery time from trauma. It takes a longer amount of time for them to recover. This is good to know if you're a high neurotic or know a high neurotic and you're just telling them, just calm down, don't worry about it. Their serotonin doesn't work that way. They need some time for the serotonin to catch up and to calm them down. That's just built into who they are. So the 5 different personality types has a nice acronym here for you to remember using OCEAN. The first spectrum, the first balance that we're going to look at is openness, and then it's conscientiousness, extroversion, agreeableness, and neuroticism. Openness is how you approach new ideas. Do you tend to be someone that likes new ideas and are welcome to new ideas, or are you more traditional and like to do things the way that they've always been done? That's the spectrum that we're talking here. If you're high on open, then you tend to like change, you like novelty, you get a big dopamine hit when there's something new and exciting, you like adventure, you're curious and creative. Those are all ways to describe someone that's high open. If you're low, then you're more traditional. You like your routines, you like your habits, let's not mess with it.